What's up, agents, and welcome back to another Division video where I'm here in the summit to just kind of show you a build that I've been using that I have never ever published. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and let's get straight into it. Right, okay, this is a bit of a weird one, right, because it involves a gear set that everybody loves to hate, but I've come accustomed to using it in a very certain situation when I'm fighting the White Tusk. Not generally when I'm doing a legendary, but when I'm in the summit and I'm fighting the White Tusk, I always used to get super annoyed, and I just felt like in the summit situation that I would get exploded on, no pun intended, so much, with the Grenadier guys being excessive or with the mini tanks being excessive, and it just got super annoying, and I didn't really want to slap on a bunch of blues to get around it, and I just kind of came up with a build that I always kind of just go to, and it's more when I'm couch playing Summit. I don't know about you lot, but I'm not very good when it comes to playing on controller. I mean, I'm not very good when it comes to playing on mouse and keyboard, but my main anyway is mouse and keyboard, and I just find that I can clear content way easier on mouse and keyboard than I can on controller. But often when I'm just couch surfing, I've got a ROG Ally and I like to play on that. It's a very small screen, but obviously it's a handheld controller like a Switch. And I often play Division on that when I'm just kind of couch surfing. And when I'm playing on that, I'm just not as good at the game as what I am when I'm on mouse and keyboard. And I find that I just kind of need a little bit of extra something in some of my builds to protect me from being blown up all the time and getting super frustrated. The only reason I'm in Legendary Summit is I'm kind of farming 13% PFE mods. Obviously, it's targeted loot. We can select protection. We can select mods, and we can put it on Legendary, and then that's kind of our best chance to get them mods. But the build I'm talking about is a Pestilence build, and this is it. Now, it's a little bit odd, and there's a couple of things that I will kind of show you that I've tried that might work for you that don't necessarily work for me. The Revive Hive and the 10% armor on kill from Gunner, I find there's enough survivability generally because I've got this blue core here as well with the knees. What I didn't find worked as well for me, and I'll just switch to that first before we start, was Contractor's Gloves, and I'll tell you why. So if you run this variation of this build, the stats at 55.5% crit chance, 129% critical hit damage, so it puts out plenty of damage. And it gives me a 65% explosive resistance, which I kind of find was kind of a sweet spot for me. I didn't feel like I needed to invest any more into it. It was just enough, because the whole idea was that I don't take away the insane amount of damage that I can do with the Pestilence and the ticks and things like that. I also did take away my, and this is going to be a bit of a flex here because I've also got one unicorn chest here with Obliterate on, but what I would usually use with this build would be this version of it with Glass Cannon for even more damage, but I just didn't feel like it was needed. I was kind of, you know, in Legendary, again, in these situations, if I was on my PC, I probably would use it, but when I was on my handheld, I just felt like I was getting myself killed way too much, so I go with the Obliterate version. The reason Lengmo is kind of perfect for this is it comes with 20% explosive resistance right off the rip, which is really nice. But yeah, with this version, I felt like the explosive resistance that I had at 65%, I still was taking a good chunk of damage, meaning that with a second or a third grenade, I would still probably just die if I got spammed with grenades, even though I had that really good explosive resistance, because basically I've not got enough armor to take the survivability of them grenades. And then at that point, then the whole thing is just a bit of a waste, right? But you could kind of change this around. You could run some blue cores here, but again, then you're taking away damage. And that's when I switched to using this version that I'm going to recommend that you use. So we'll put on the Lengmo gloves, and then we'll switch back to the Sawyer's knee pads. Before I go through the rest of it, the reason the Sawyer's knee pads are good, they give a lot of damage. When they're full stacked, they actually give more damage than an all red Fox's Pro. They are absolutely amazing. That's why you see people use them in some sniper builds, even though they have no reds on them whatsoever. but they come with 10% explosive resistance natively. It makes no sense. They're weird knee pads, but they give you a lot of damage. So you can't be staggered by explosions, which again fits in with what I needed to talk about. We don't get staggered by the explosions, so it just helps even more. We get increased total weapon damage by 3% each second I'm not moving. And to be honest, I tend to sit in cover a lot and let the pestilence just do the work. And then that stacks up to 10 times. So that's absolutely brilliant. But it only you only lose it after 10 seconds of moving. So again, you know, great set of knee pads and just kind of fits perfectly into the idea of what we're doing here. Then 3 Lengmore, and everything in this build is pretty hard to farm, because none of it comes with reds, right? So R&K comes with yellows, which is weird, and Lengmore comes with blues, again, which is odd. So with the gloves, I basically crafted these ones, you can see here. We got them with crit chance, crit damage, optimized it, and then changed the core attribute to red. Now, I tend to do that with a lot of my stuff, but that's because I'm a very high SHD level. I'm well over capped on all of my materials, and when I want to recap this, I'll just jump into my other characters and steal the SHDs, or make a mule character and top them back up. Field recon data is my shortage. I'm always short on this, more so than even when I look into my exotic components, which I think was kind of the beginner stopgap, 552. But now the field recon data really is where I get capped all of the time. So that is the gloves. You're going to do the same then, and you kind of put these in any positions you want, right? The R&K could be the gloves. The R&K could be, well, it could be these pieces here. It doesn't have to be these ones. The only exception really is the backpack. I would definitely recommend just using the named backbone. Easier to get because it's always going to roll with this talent. Just get crit chance, crit damage on it, and then roll the core attributes. Obviously, you don't have to. You could keep one of these blue for a little bit of extra survivability. But in Summit, when I'm farming, if I do die, I really don't care that much. I don't get rolled back that much. And in the end of the day anyway, I'm just in there farming for mods. So with the backbone, perfectly unstoppable force, really good, especially by yourself. It's always going to be at max damage. Crit chance, crit damage, crit chance in the mod slot with weapon damage, and you can see there we get the explosive resistance, skill health, and LMG damage. For the chest, again, it could be R&K if you've already farmed it and then use Lengmore in other slots, but this is just one that I had. Crit chance, crit damage, and obliterate rather than using glass cannon. Just kind of suits what I'm doing a little bit better. And it's lower damage, yes, but this just kind of works for me solo, like I said, when I'm cruising on the couch. Then we've got the R&K, and this is the pieces that nobody ever uses. Who uses R&K? Nobody ever really uses it. And obviously, if I was to switch to the build I would be using, I'll give you a very quick look. That's what I would generally be using. Give or take that blue wouldn't be there. That would be grab a crit chance or crit damage. But that's kind of like the most damage that I could possibly do. But I just get blown up so much by the grenades, it just ends up doing my head in. And I think, do you know what, I'm just not going to do it this way at all. And I just flip into R&K, which is not a huge loss in damage. It is a decent chunk of loss in damage, but if there's a GE on, or if you're running the season modifiers, it really doesn't take too much away from it. And you get 15% incoming repairs, which do absolutely nothing for us, but we get 25% explosive resistance. And by running that across 2 pieces, that's why we get that buff. Then I'm just using the Banshee Pulse, and I'm just using the Reviver Hive, and that's it. I just kind of play it and go to town. And like I said, if you die, you die. If you don't, you don't. It's not really a big deal. But it's just kind of my embarrassing use case for R&K with a set, you know, a lot like 511. Very rarely gets used. Very, you know, always gets in the comments. Please redo, please fix, please make it better. But there is a very, very niche use case here for what I'm saying. As we can see here, I have I got a max mod, skill haste. The question is, do I need it? Let's have a look. I don't think I do. Oh, I've only got one on me. That's a bit weird. So we'll keep it just in case. I'm pretty sure I've got max already though. So yeah, I just thought I would show you. I'm not going to show you any built gameplay or anything like that, because I'll just find something and get myself blown up and I'll lose a bit of life. But you can tank 3 grenades and still have about 1/3 to 1/2 of your life left, and you know, not have to worry with this build. So it just takes that pressure away if you're going to be solo or anything like that. That is going to be it for the build video. Let me know what you think about my R&K superstar build. Yes, it's not the best. Yes, it's not intended to be best in slots. It's not intended to be meta or anything crazy like that. But it's just for this very specific use case scenario in Summit if you're doing something like I am. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.